Okay, well, it's Richard Ojeda, and I'm retired military and just got into politics after retiring and coming back home to a place where I was shocked to find children that had it worse than the kids I saw in Iraq and Afghanistan. So I started challenging these jackaloons. They tried to murder me. I took a pipe to the back of the head and 8 broken bones in my face with brass knuckles 2 days before winning my state Senate seat.
Wow. When was
Yeah.
that? When was the incident?
It was in 2016.
Tell everybody what town, what state, and all that other fun stuff.
Yeah, it's Logan County, West Virginia.
Tell me about what interaction you've had with your senator. Well, before you leave the state, give us a little of your interactions with I burned a blank.
Manchin. Man, Joe Manchin. Yeah, basically for the last probably 6 months, I have been just ripping him a new one. I have his private phone number. So I text him all the time and I'm like, you sold your soul. You're a daggone worm. I light him up pretty harshly. And at the end of the day, that's just where we are. I recently got word that Joe Manchin has said that I had better never need anything. At the end of the day, guess what? You are my representative, and I don't care what you think, and I don't care what you think about the things that I'm saying, because what I'm saying is spot on true. But make no mistake about it, it wouldn't bother me at all to call him out and get that, tough. Because at the end of the day, Joe Manchin is a bootlicking worm, and he's doing what he's doing because Joe Manchin wants to run for governor in West Virginia. And Joe Manchin knows that as long as he can come down here and tell these people, I was good with Donald Trump, I fought Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats, they're going to vote for him. And that's what he wants. He just wants to finish his second term as a governor and ride off into the sunset.
It's just so amazing that we're seeing just the level of corruption of all of our politicians on both sides of the aisle. There's a couple of, good ones. I guess there's always a good egg in every dozen, whatever. But I just kind of feel like, the whole Trump era has ripped off the Band-Aid.
Yeah.
To really see just how deep the cuts are.
Yeah, we now know, as far as lobbying and stuff like that, we know that insider trading is completely legal for these people. That's why these people go to Washington, D.C. and leave at the end of 10 or 15 years as, multiple or multi-millionaires. That's why, because they go there and they get that insider information and they all participate in insider trading and buying and selling stocks. It's just that, only recently some of them have been called out because of COVID. And because of COVID, it's like, not only are you doing insider trading, but you're doing it in a way where you're dumping stocks that are going to fail because of COVID, and you're buying stocks in companies that are making PPE. That is blatant insider trading, and it's sickening that you guys would go that route. But that's what has exposed them. But they've been doing it forever. That's the reason why Lawfer and Perdue and Burrs has never been arrested. My organization, No Dim Left Behind, is trying to find candidates in red rural America to flip seats from red to blue. But the Democratic Party don't want to participate with us. Now, make no mistake about it. If we flip a seat from red to blue in Missouri or Kansas, and we've got some solid candidates, I can guarantee you that the Democratic Party, who did not help with nothing, have done nothing to help us, they will be the first ones to jump in and try to get their hooks on these candidates that we flipped. Because I'm telling you right now, I believe that if we cannot pick up the momentum here and start getting this stuff done, and it's nice that we're starting to see certain people, get subpoenaed and things like that. But I'm telling you, my biggest fear is that 2022 happens and it's before we finally take them out. And then the House is for some odd reason goes back to the Republicans and they just shut everything down.
Yeah,
I want to see these people in prison.
I mean, I won't live in that country. I'm just saying, I won't live in that country.
I have literally started looking at other places for dual citizenship. I got family in Mexico. I love to travel, but I hate to say it, but somebody who spent 24 years in the military, and I'm sitting here looking at other countries thinking maybe that's a better place for me to go.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, crazy.
So you were in Iraq and Afghanistan and everything?
Yeah, yeah, I did 3 OIF deployments, 1 OEF deployment, but one of my OIF deployments wasn't a combat deployment, it was to Jordan. So I got 2 in Iraq, 1 in Afghanistan. This is a fight that we can't shy away from. And I'm telling you, our democracy is at stake. Our democracy is at stake. If we lose this fight, we lose America as a country. We are going to become a country that is literally a dictatorship. And that's exactly what they tried to do on January the 6th. That assault on our capital was to establish a coup or to establish a dictatorship with Trump as the head. And I'm hoping and I'm praying that our country is not going to allow none of these people to get away with it.
Well, you know, as much as that was so horrible and whatever, but if you think about it, because Trump is such an idiot, it's almost like, yeah, they had this big plan, but like nobody thought, so what do we do after 7:00 p.m.? You know what I mean? Like there was no plan beyond just the violent outbursts.
Yeah, well, you know,
planned.
Yeah,
It was just an expression of anger and frustration, which, so who doesn't have anger and frustration in our government? You know?
Oh, absolutely. But I will tell you, I saw it last night, and I got to find out because I want to get it for in its entirety. And that is when Donald Trump finally, about 4 or 5 o'clock that day, stood in front of the camera and said, you know, you are going to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. You know, when he literally looked into the camera and said to the very people that he said, we're going to march on the Capitol, that they were now basically going to be prosecuted and how they were intruders on the Capitol. You know, this was him realizing that he had failed, that they didn't daggone slaughter the members of Congress, and they did not set it up to where he can call for martial law. And he knew that he had lost. So he then set it up to go and try to cover his own ass. And that's what he did. But people need to see that. And it needs to be played on loop where everybody says he's talking to the very people that he sent towards the Capitol, because those people were the biggest zealots that fell for his bullshit. But they need to also know that. We're sitting here allowing the Republicans to have all the damn spotlight. Yeah. You know, I'm sitting here today. I got up this morning and I already put it on Twitter. I see the photograph of Representative Thomas Massey from Kentucky. He has a M60 machine gun in his hand. I used to carry the M60 machine gun, and when I was enlisted, and when I was an officer and my first combat tour in Iraq, some of my vehicles had M60s on them. Let me tell you something. That is something that no civilian should ever have access to. That weapon can shoot 550 to 650 7.62 rounds in a minute. And if somebody was able to get their hands on that wanted to do damage with it, could literally, these are 7.62. These things will blow a hole through your bulletproof vest, you know? And I sit and think to myself, how on earth in America can we allow anybody to have access? I don't give a shit if you were a member of Congress. Nobody should have access to anything like that. And oh, by the way, he's taking pictures with all these kids around him. You know, I mean, you know, we've got kids in this country that grow up in trauma. You know, and you can look at the child. It's a little bastard what he did with Michigan, but you also have to look and realize that he also has some pretty shitty parents. I mean, they first off abandoned him by running off, and then they hire themselves legal counsel, and they're letting their son fall under let the state pay for his stuff. You know, good parents.
Yeah, no, they're gross. I mean,
yeah. DeSantis, I mean, I'll tell you right now, I think he's going to run for president. But I'm going to tell you right now, what he recently just said with his whole thoughts about coming up with his own private military that he can control. First and foremost, the National Guard is the governor is the commander-in-chief of the National Guard. Whenever a National Guard unit deploys to Iraq and Afghanistan, it's only because the governor signs off, giving them approval that they can deploy. That's it. So he already has a military force. but he wants a specialized force. And if that right there doesn't let people know that this is a man that absolutely would be more than willing to send troops against our own citizens, if he tells you what he is, listen to him, because that's exactly what this is. DeSantis is dangerous. He is dangerous.
The whole GOP is dangerous. I mean,
Abbott. I mean, you know, these people. I'm like, you know what? Abbott is the one person. Abbott, Madison, Cawthorn, both make me hope that there really is a stairway to heaven. You know, I have to say it. I have to say it. I don't give a shit. I have to say it. You know what I did the other day? I was on my live, and what I did was I went and I looked up all of the bills that Ilhan Omar has lead sponsored. There's over 400 bills, and they are absolutely amazing bills. She's denouncing ISIS. She's fighting to make sure that the 9/11 responders in New York have their medical taken care of. I mean, she does amazing bills. And then I went and I did Lauren Boebert's 17 bills that she's pushed, and Marjorie Trainwreck Greene's 16 bills that she's pushed. And literally, like 4 of Marjorie Trainwreck Greene bills are basically talking about impeach Biden. One of them is to basically fire Dr. Fauci. You know, one of Lauren Boebert's bills is the anti-AOC bill. These are some of the absolute most idiotic, stupid pieces of legislation, and it is embarrassment that anybody would even allow them to submit that legislation to become an actual bill. Right. But that's where we're at. That's where we're at.
How long has the organization been around?
My organization, we were around for the 2020. We had candidates in the 2020 election. So, you know, and the thing is that, you know, we had Mia Mason, the first Democratic nominee that was the first transgender candidate, and she won her primary. We had Lindsey Simmons from Missouri, who broke records. She didn't win, but she broke records. She's a Harvard graduate whose husband was a helicopter pilot with a bounty on his head in Syria. You know, I mean, we had some amazing candidates that done amazing things, and, you know, we got no support. We were able to help our candidates, and a lot of our candidates broke records. But once again, the DCCC didn't do nothing for us.
So don't you have to like call? So you call them and say, "Hey, can we take a meeting?" kind of thing. How does that work? I mean, I just know I hassled them until they got back to me. You know what I mean?
Well, you know, we actually had a call. We had a Zoom meeting with Jamie Harrison, but it's like he gets on there and he's no different. It's like when you go someplace and let's say you're going to talk to somebody, or you're going to go listen to a politician speak, and the politician wants you to think that he gives a shit about you, but every time you ask him a question, he diverts to kind of shielding it. That's exactly the way the conversation went with Jamie Harrison. And I was very disappointed. And here's the thing too, is like 2 days later, I was with Reverend Barber in Charleston, West Virginia. And I just so happened to give a speech, and it was absolutely fire. Yeah. Well, let me tell you something. I hate to say it, but I sometimes I feel that Jamie Harrison looks at me as like I'm a threat. I'm not. I'm not trying to take anybody's job. I'm not trying to do anything other than flip seats from red to blue. I'm trying to save this country. And I really appreciate if we could get some support. You know, we got to bust our ass to get anything for our candidates. And I know that there is so many opportunities available. I will tell you that in my cell phone, I've probably got the numbers of about 35 members of Congress. And I can call them. I text back and forth. Eric Swalwell, you know, Gallego. I talk to these people often, you know, and I will tell you that I know that they would support me wholeheartedly, but I just can't get the DCCC or the DNC to step in and help us. We endorsed Tim Ryan. We endorsed Val Demings. I mean, technically, if you want to be able to help them more than what you've already helped them with, then support us, because we can turn and support them as well. That's what it's about. It's just like talking to a brick wall.
Well, I am thrilled to know that there is a way I can channel the energy that you're putting into those candidates with what I'm doing. It's all part of harnessing and embracing and bringing to the slogan I came up with leading into the 2020 election was like, together we defend our democracy. And I only feel like the only people that are really together are the people that I listen to consistently on this platform.
Yeah, and we have to convince the damn party to realize that they could absolutely excel with us. You know, I mean, that's the thing. And I'll tell you, you know, I'm going to get you linked up with Hassan because I think that you would be a really good person, not only to get to meet the candidates in No Deal Left Behind, but to do a town hall with them.
Oh, I would love to.
Yeah. It is wonderful because what it really, it's about talking back and forth, talking about solid practices, talking about, you know, I ask a lot of people, I'm like, how often are you doing live videos? You know, have you ever done a live video where you basically say that every Wednesday I'm going to come on here for 1 hour and I'm going to answer anybody's questions? Now, understand that when you do that and you're in politics, you're going to get haters, you're going to get trolls. But I can guarantee you, you'll never see a Republican ever do a live video where he literally just answers the people's questions. If they do a live video, they have pre-written questions that they've already answered. But I'm telling you right now, I'm like, you'll be amazed at what that sends, the message that sends to people. That says that you're not scared to stand in front of the people and answer questions. And you tell them point blank, if I win, I will do at least one of these every 2 weeks while I'm a member of Congress from my office. That lets people realize, wow, you're telling me that you're going to give me access to you, maybe even more than because you tell them you deserve better access to me than the fucking lobbyists do. Yeah. And that's a fact. And that word right there, that little message right there, makes a lot of people open their eyes.
Yeah.
It's brutal here where I'm from in Southern West Virginia. And that's what's really so hard is because I'm looking at these people. I have given tours to people from all over the world. I've had people from Finland, Norway, Sweden, Germany, Japan, come here to West Virginia and let me drive them around my hometown. And every one of them had that mentality that we've always been told that America is the greatest country on earth. When I finished with the daggone 2-hour tour of my hometown, every one of them have looked me in the face and said, we had no idea that it could be this bad in America. I mean, I could take you to places literally, and I'm not lying when I say the kids in Iraq and Afghanistan had it better than these kids, because in Iraq and Afghanistan, a village will raise a child. Here, mom and dad's addicted to opioids. They're living in squalor, and these people just, and they fall for it. These people here, when Donald Trump come down here and put that coal miner's cap on and acted like he was working at Invisible Shovel, they literally thought that baby Jesus had just been born in front of their eyes, and I'm telling you, that's how they have been. And it's like your life isn't no better. Your job, your coal mining job is now working you 6 days a week, and you're working 10 to 12-hour shifts. So the 40-hour work week has been completely tanked. And every single coal company that I know in West Virginia has, every single one of them, when they're done in a certain mine site, when they realize there's nothing less here, every one of them files for bankruptcy, and they all sneak out and get away without having to pay the retirements of these coal miners. The only group that has been able to secure the retirements of these coal miners is the United Mine Workers of America. And it took them 6 years of marching in St. Louis and all across the country. But it took that long for them to secure that. Other than that, everybody else, there's no retirement. When you are 55 years old and you can no longer work in the coal mines, it takes you a minimum of 2 years to file for Social Security, because it's mandatory that they throw out the first 2 times that you submit. They want to make sure you're working hard enough to get it. And I will tell you that the companies hire the doctors that are the ones that are looking at the x-rays, and they say, nah, you don't have nothing. you're fine. But here's the thing. If you are done at the age of 55, you don't get, for the most part, until you're 60-some years old, you don't get to draw Social Security. And those that do get Social Security, remember that's reduced because they didn't wait till they were 65 years old. And that's what they get for the rest of their life. And they can never work anywhere again. They live in poverty. I'll tell you right now, it's a shame to watch people work 30, 40 years in a damn coal mine, and the coal operators become multimillionaires, and they snuck out and they got away with it.
Yeah, but look, that's like a mindset that it's almost like a religion in a way, to be like blind to.
You know, I see Kia, I spent 4 years in the classroom, and it's so hard when you look at these kids and you say, what do you want to be when you get older? And they're like, I want to be a coal miner like my daddy. And first and foremost, you live in squalor. You're struggling. Your daddy struggles. And there's a better way. I mean, for me, to try to mentor kids to think about the military while we're at war, by the way, you know, I'm sitting there looking at kids saying, hey, you know what, instead of going into the mines, why don't you join the military? Yeah, I got it. You're going to end up in Iraq and Afghanistan, probably getting shot at, may even come home one day with some post-traumatic stress disorder or some traumatic brain injury like me. But, you know, at least you'll be able to breathe. At least you'll have a future where you don't have to walk into a coal mine and literally at the age of 35, go everywhere with the oxygen tank. And that's the reality, you know, but these kids, they look at that because it's like, my daddy's a coal miner, my daddy's daddy was a coal miner. And these people kind of paint that in a picture like it's like something like it's like, yeah, like Vikings or something like that. It's true. And a lot of these kids, they think that way.
It's like a religion, because it's almost like they're addicted to this not getting a life.
Yeah, and it's really nice when you're 18, 19 years old, because the coal companies love you because you're young, you're physically fit. You can go in those mines, and then they can get rid of those other guys that have been in there for 15, 20 years that are starting to slow down for black lung. So they love it when these 18-year-olds come walking in those daggone coal mines.
I mean, for that reason alone, Manchin should be just like,
Manchin is Manchin and his family.
And he's precipitate, you know, he's just.
Yeah. Manchin is dirty. You know, Manchin's daughter, you know, that ran Mylan Pharmaceuticals. But do you realize, and I really believe that it was this incident, his daughter destroyed a college in West Virginia. She destroyed a college because Joe Manchin pressured that college to give her a master's degree that she did not earn. And they gave it to her. And when the word got out, that college lost its accreditation. And all these students that were there they were junior. I had a guy that worked for me that had a son that was a junior, lost everything. Everything about that school went through. All the credits become null and void. And I will tell you that I believe that that is the degree she used to get the job at Mylan Pharmaceuticals. And then she jacks up the EpiPen and also makes it to where you have to buy the EpiPen in sets of 2. And then her mother, Gail Manchin, went and lobbied in Washington, D.C. to make states mandatory. Every school had to have so many on hand. You know, it was all a big fleece operation, and the entire family, you know, $1.1 million each year goes to Gail Manchin and Joe Manchin from their son's energy company in West Virginia, which focuses on coal. Joe Manchin does not give two shits about climate change in this country because Joe Manchin knows that he wants to keep his money coming. And as long as Joe Manchin can keep money coming, he don't give a shit if people die of poisoned water, if they die from inhalation of poisonous gases. He don't care. Joe Manchin don't care.
I did a deep dive into into Manchin, that he had two brothers. He has two brothers. They inherited their father's business. I think it was like some kind of retail. I think these are like a women's dress retail business.
Yeah.
The three of them inherited it, and Joe and one of the brothers ended up screwing the third brother out of the inheritance. And so it's like, this is who he is, you know. So.
And I would tell you that they do a lot of things. When I was 18 and a half years in the military, I was in Afghanistan, and I thought to myself, I've been doing a lot of deploying, a lot of combat deployments. I thought to myself, I think I wouldn't mind finishing out my career in West Virginia as an active guard guy. Okay, an active guard guy. So I was willing to say, I'll switch over because this was active duty. I'll switch over and go to West Virginia and finish out my career, and of course, do everything I possibly could. And I was told by Joe Manchin's office, you've already been in 18 and a half years. You can't do that. That's the rule, is you can't switch over from 18 and a half years to go and become an active guard person. So I was told you can't do it. But Joe Manchin has a person that works for his staff. Her husband was absolutely given exactly what I was told I couldn't do. He was given that after over 20 years. Because once again, if you're close to Joe and you're in Joe's circle, then you can get anything. I was at the State of the Union address in 2013 because Joe Manchin's office called me and they asked me if I would like to go to the State of the Union. And this was during President Obama. I said no, because I was like, I don't play politics. I didn't care about politics. The only reason why I ended up going was because I called my parents and I told them, and my mother and father started crying. They're like, oh my gosh, my son is invited to the State of the Union. So I hung the phone up and I called them back and I said, yeah, I'll go. So they flew me there. But the truth is I was just there to be Joe Manchin's token military guy, and that's what it was. You know what, man, ignorance is bliss, but there's people like you and me that would absolutely love to be able to fall under that, but we can't. We read, we research, we get involved, and we see these things happening around us, and it's just something that we can't. We don't have it in us to walk away. We can't look the other way. We can't.
No, I mean, the respect I have for you having been in the military, that's something I've not done, but this is like the closest thing I'm going to get to fighting the good fight. You know what I mean?
And it's just as important. I'm going to tell you right now. I mean, I spent 24 years in the military. The fights that I fight right now benefit my country far more than anything I did when I was in uniform. Because I'm realizing that, I spent all this time when I was in uniform doing nothing but fighting for Halliburton, Lockheed Martin, Brown and Root, Blackwater. That's who I fought for, and I hate that. But now I fight for democracy in our country. And you know what?
It feels so good, doesn't it?
It does. It does. You know what? I go to bed every night knowing that I have done everything in my power to make this country better.
And I wake up in such a state of gratitude because I know this is what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Awesome. Well, brother, I tell you, I'm glad to be in this fight with you, man. So let's stay connected. Let's do it, man.
And take names, you'll see. I promise.
Hey, brother, I love it, man.
Have a great week. Happy holidays.
Hey, you too, man. Bye.
Bye.